Yo, yo, yo. Hey, guys, welcome back to another awesome edition of the Best Practices Show podcast. Are you looking at data in your dental practice and thinking, where do I even start? This is too much data. I don't know if this data is good, bad. It's too much to look at. Well, a lot of you are saying that. Today, we bring in Curtis Marshall from Dental Intel, and he shows us the art of data analysis, how you can make this simple. And you can transform your dental practice as a whole and for each role in the practice. You are going to love this. We also have included a download to see where you're at and where the opportunities are so that you can go to work as a team and improve things over time. So make sure you guys listen to this. I know you'll enjoy it, and we'll see you soon. Hey guys, welcome back to the Best Practices Show podcast, where you know the jam around here. My job is to find the best thinkers, best teachers, best leaders in all of dentistry to help you decode some of this complexity and help you create a better practice, a better life. Today, we're going to be talking about metrics. All of you are looking at metrics. You have to be looking at data because without any data, we're just having a conversation about how we feel. Data removes all emotion. Tells us what's going on. It's the brutal facts, whether we like them or not. We don't have to like them, but we do have to pay attention to data. And to have this discussion, we're going to be talking about data and how we can put them in different buckets to make it easier for you and your team to understand whole versus role, which we'll describe in a second, with Curtis Marshall from Dental Intel. Curtis, thanks for being on, brother. I appreciate you.
My friend. Absolutely every time, anytime. Love being here. Thanks for having me.
I don't even ask you. I just tell you you're coming on, and then you come on, and you always enlighten us and me, and you're a great teacher. And I follow your lead. You know, when it comes to core values things, look at that. I listen to you, and I'm paying attention. And I want people to know, so we're going to go down this path. We're going to be talking analytics, data. If somebody doesn't know who Curtis Marshall is or Dental Intel, give us a little insight. Who are you? What do you do? What is Dental Intel?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to actually let everyone know that one thing that I've really been impressed with and whenever talking to anybody is that what we do on a day-to-day basis is just, it's temporary. And so I am going to start off by saying who I am a little bit more as Curtis Marshall, not necessarily what I do, but then quick what I do. I've been in dentistry. I started out in doing marketing and opened T-shirt stores in the Caribbean. I used to do a lot of different things, but I got into dentistry about 15 years ago. And absolutely love it. I've got three beautiful girls. My oldest just got her driver's license. I live in Utah, born and raised. I've been here, left a few times, and keep coming back. But absolutely love it out here. I love go jump on the lake. And so meaning, and the reason why I say all this, Kirk, is that it's really important for us to connect as humans and not just what is it that you do, but really who you are. So that's a little bit who I am.
Yeah, and you just took your daughters to a Taylor Swift concert, which was so cool. Just tell us about it.
It was so fun. Went to the Nashville one. If anybody follows Taylor Swift, that was her first raining one. So she sang in the rain. She rode a bike in the rain. She did all these crazy things and performed magnificently in Nashville just a couple weeks ago. And so that was a great memory with my daughters.
That's awesome. And then T-shirts in the Caribbean. You haven't told me that one.
Yeah, it was. I opened many stores in the Caribbean. They changed colors. So they start off black and white, and then you go outside, and then they burst with colors. This company found that NASA, when they made the face shields, right? They wanted to be able to say, hey, when I'm looking in the dark, I want to have it clear. But when I go to the sun, it's so bright, I need to get really dark. Right? They took that same technology. We have glasses now that kind of do that inside their light, right? But they applied it to the ink. So on your shirt, it would change. It would do that same thing, but in the ink.
Wow.
On the shirt. Little gimmick, but fun.
I'm always learning from you, man. I didn't even know that existed. And so we're going to go down this path of metrics. And if you've been listening to the podcast, you know we're big fans of Dental Intel. It's changed the game for us as coaches. We now have more insight, intel, transparency on what happens almost every minute in a dental office. The challenge with it is it can be super complex. There's a lot of data points back there. I mean, billions of data points are back on the platform altogether. And today we're going to talk about how you can simplify the approach. And you guys are always improving your technology. In the fall, you're going to roll out more focused analytics to be able to help offices instead of saying, go back here into the ocean and find out what you're looking for so you can apply it to your practice. But let's start here. You brought into the conversation the whole versus role. So help us understand that concept when it comes to data.
WHOLE, for those who are not reading it, whole versus role, ROLE. So the whole meaning, hey, here's everything that's happening in your practice, right? The high level, everything that's going on. The role, meaning as an individual, what should I be focusing on? And we have many different team members and different roles in the office. Some people might be 2 or 3 different roles, but it's so I'm not saying people, we're saying roles, like what you need to be looking at.
Yeah.
You're so right. I like how you call it the ocean of data and information. We pull all the data and information out of people's practice management softwares. So all the ones and zeros, we don't pull the reports because the practice management software makes their own reports. We pull all the raw data, clean it up, and give you a whole bunch of metrics that if you're like Kirk and his team, you're going to read those and understand it. You have a decoder and you know how to read it. But for the roles in the office and what different team members, looking in that sea could be very difficult. And so we want to talk today about get a little bit more specific even, Kirk, right? As far as role versus whole. And so that would be a good disclaimer of where we're going.
Absolutely. So today we're going to pick hygiene specifically, because there's a lot of different, and I'll have Curtis back. We'll take it apart, these departments, and give you targets so that you can see if the entire department as a whole is healthy. And so let's go down the path of hygiene. Now I've got a handout too. So if you're listening on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, go down to the notes. You'll be able to click on the link. And what Dental Intel does for us is they give us these key performance indicators benchmarks for each department. It's for the front office, it's for the hygiene department, and for the dentist. And what they do is they categorize the data from bottom 10%, where they find over 10,000 installs. Is it way more than that now? It was like 10,000 installs, where the data points show up on the bottom 10% of users, where they show up for the average user, and then what the top 10% of users do of all the installs you have. Did I say that correctly?
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. We're almost at 20,000, by the way, now.
Okay, think about that. 20,000 installs. So you're gathering a lot of data points. And what's really cool is you can normalize this. So this is the benefit to you as a dentist. How am I doing? I don't know if we're doing good, if we're doing bad. How does it compare? And so we're going to give you some insight on that. So give us a little overall overview of the whole hygiene department. What would you say are some of the metrics? If I'm a dentist, what do I want to be looking at as a whole in hygiene?
Yeah, so this is something that is, I'm going to give you two numbers here, but this is something that here's what we typically do. We take the whole And then we go to the team and say, this is the problem, go fix it. And everybody goes in different directions to try to fix something. Yet they don't know if it's going to be related to or not. And they come back and they're like, I'm exhausted, or this is what I did, or I forgot. Because I'm saying I forgot, but really I didn't know where to go.
Right.
But as an owner or as a leader in the practice or as a coach, you want to know that these two different things, because it's the whole, it's what's happening, so that we can then say, all right, now let's look at something else for the role.
Yeah.
Okay. So first off, hygiene. You want to compare, know the difference, the difference between your active patients who have been in your office in the last 18 months versus how many are in your hygiene program. And how they're in your hygiene program is that they've completed a cleaning, D1110, D1120, which are trophies, 4342, which or 43, which are perio, or 4910, which is a perio maintenance code, right? Those are considered cleanings. If they've done a cleaning, now they're in your hygiene program.
Right.
So 2,000 active patients. How many of those 2,000 active patients are hygiene active, meaning they've been in the office for hygiene? So before we go further, Kirk, does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. So, and that number is going to show up if I have dental intel and I'm a user. How do I find that number, Curtis? That's going to show up in what category?
Within the performance board, up on the ticker board. Oh my goodness. In the performance board up at the very top.
All right,
You'll see active patients and active hygiene patients. You'll see those two numbers.
Yeah, now, because here's the real truth. Everyone says, all these patients, they're active. But the truth of it is they haven't been into the practice, or they're not tethered to the practice with an appointment. So we're anecdotally saying, oh, yeah, I have 2,000 active patients. Well, we've got to know the metrics to know if they're coming in, they've been coming in, or we can actually predict how many of them will come in with a number like hygiene pre-appointment percentage. So one of them as a whole is to know how many of them have actually completed a hygiene appointment with those codes. But then talk about hygiene pre-appointment percentage, because when I first got into this, I got pre-appointment percentage wrong. And we're going to give you some targets if you're listening. What is hygiene pre-appointment percentage?
Okay, so I have my 2,000 active patients. Out of those active patients, let's just make numbers easy. 1,000 or 50% of them are in my hygiene department, right?
Right.
Of those 1,000 in your hygiene department, you want to know how many of those hygiene patients currently, as of today, have a future hygiene appointment. That is pre-appointment percentage. Let me say it again. Pre-appointment percentage for hygiene is number one, have they been in your hygiene program? Number two, do they currently have a future hygiene appointment?
Right.
So if everyone, I'm going to just make a big statement here. If everyone leaves with a future appointment for hygiene, they come in for hygiene and everyone leaves for a future hygiene appointment. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
My pre-appointment percentage, my 1,000 hygiene patients, could it be lower than 100%? Or would it always be 100%?
Ooh. Are you? Sometimes. Okay, so if 100% of them pre-appoint,
100% leave. Everyone, when they come in for a hygiene appointment, my team is the best. Right. Everyone leaves with a hygiene appointment. They left with a hygiene appointment. When I'm looking at the whole, everything, all 1,000 hygiene patients, is it always going to be 100%, or could it be lower?
It would be lower because of the 2,000 patients, 1,000 of them are pre-appointed for hygiene. Am I on the right track here?
Almost. Let's forget about the 2,000 because we're only thinking about the 1,000 in hygiene.
Okay.
Of my 1,000 in hygiene, Are all of them, do all of them as of today have a future appointment?
Then it would be 100%, right?
It would be 100% if they all were. But I guarantee you that it will never be, even if everyone left with a future hygiene appointment, your whole everything is not always going to be 100%, because patients will call and cancel and not reschedule. That, as of today, goes down. Great job on the day they were here. Good job. Everyone left. But of my whole, how many do not have a future appointment will be much less than how many they leave with.
Right. Totally agree with that. And, the important thing to understand what you've just shared, Curtis, is this is very dynamic. It's changing all the time.
All the time.
And with these targets, when you talk about the whole hygiene department and where they should be, and again, you'll see this in the download, the top 10% of people that actually have done the installs, it's 78%. Bottom 10% are at 39%. So, and if you're average, they're typically around 63%. So you'll see in this handout, what we want you to do is go back and figure out what this number is. And the computer and the data doesn't lie as long as it's being entered correctly. And what it does is it presents an opportunity. So don't feel bad. So if you're listening to the podcast, you fill this out and you go, hey, I'm at 39%. Don't get mad. Don't get upset. It's just an incredible opportunity to start playing with the dials and saying to yourself, we got to drive up pre-appointment percentages. Am I on the right track here?
So as the whole, we want to increase pre-appointment percentage.
Right.
But for the role, we're going to focus on two different things. So we can jump into that too. But you're absolutely right. So when I look at, hey, of all my hygiene patients, I think everyone's doing really well. They're all leaving with 100%. Everyone leaves with a future hygiene appointment. But when I pull my pre-appointment percentage and I look at the whole, it's not 100%. Why? So when I look at the why now, I'm going to jump into the two areas of the role.
Okay, let's do it.
One area of the role is making sure everyone left with a future appointment. In this fake example that we're giving, do we need to focus and pay attention to that anymore? If everyone's leaving with a future appointment, do we need to worry about that?
No.
Hey, it's good. It's going great. You can celebrate, but you don't really need to track that 100% anymore, because everyone truly is leaving with an appointment.
Right.
But if my whole is saying, hey, this is not right, there's something wrong, there's another role that needs to be fixed. And that role in this scenario wouldn't 100% be about breaking appointments. If they break an appointment, are we rescheduling them? Do we have a follow-up with them? How is that system working? So typically in an office, who takes that phone call of the broken appointment?
It'd be the administrator up front, team member.
Whoever it is, every office is different.
Right.
That person you want to find out, okay, what's happening? Let's now start tracking all of the broken appointments and how many of them reappoint.
Right.
That is the role. The role we're now focusing on and talking with patients and improving. The role is of my broken patients, how many are we getting to reschedule?
Very cool. So if you can tally the metrics on that, number one, broken appointments need to be entered correctly. So that's the foundation is number one. If you're listening to this, you got to teach your team members how to truly break appointments, because if I was an administrator, I wouldn't break appointments. I would drag appointments, which means people would cancel or not show, and then I'll just drag them to another day. But when you truly break the appointment, Curtis, you jump in at any time. What it's going to do is record data. It's going to show what happened with this appointment. Now you have true data on how many of those were actually appointed and broken and for what reasons, correct?
Yep. And it will tell you whether they're rescheduled or not as well. Because in this scenario where we're trying to make sure everybody has a future appointment, I don't care that they broke an appointment as long as they're rescheduled.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, And I would disagree with you because you're my friend. You're not breaking appointments on me, because if you're breaking a lot of appointments, we got to do something to fill that time. Now, they do happen, but you want to reduce them as much as possible.
That's a different role. But yes. If I'm making sure that everyone has an appointment, then that's what I would be looking at. If I'm trying to fix the schedule and make sure that we don't have holes in the schedule, then I'm going to be focusing on that aspect as well. But yes, you're right.
Absolutely. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. One of the other things you can do, let's say your hygiene pre-appointment percentage is pretty low as a whole. The individual role is we can start making sure people are appointed for hygiene appointments before they leave, which points to the individual reappointment percentage. Now, I said this at the beginning. I got pre-appointment and reappointment because they're pretty close, and I'm not the smartest student ever. I had to actually dig into these data points to understand they're significantly different. But in a dental practice, individual roles, now you can see this as a whole, but it's also an important metric to educate your hygiene team on hygiene reappointment percentage. And I'll just share this. Curtis, you guys recommend top 10% of the users of dental intel. They're at 93%, which means people that are currently in, 93% of them are scheduled for their next hygiene appointment. Is that correct?
Right. If they have a schedule for a restorative, I don't care.
Right.
We're not tracking that. Hygiene re-appointment, RE, means that they left with an appointment. Not that they have one today, because they could break it, right?
Right.
But re means did they leave with an appointment?
Right.
Hygiene appointment.
Yeah, bottom 10% of users of dental intel, it's at 62%, which means 62% of the patients that are seen in those practices today are actually scheduled for their next hygiene appointment. And the average, if you're looking at the middle, is about 85%. Now, this is a big one for us, and I think every dental coach or consultant would agree. This is a pretty telling metric. You know, a couple things about it. You probably would never want 100% because there's a few less desirable patients that you're going to want to free up from time to time. You never want to make sure you're scheduling 100% of your patients. Your job should be attracting people that are the right fit for your practice long term, which includes a few every once in a while that you just got to let go into the universe. But the higher that number with healthy patients, and we coach a lot of practices, we'll find them at 85%. And then through the use of great verbal skills, great systems, they'll grow their percentage, hygiene pre-appointment percentage as a role individually, from 85% to 93 or 94%. And then every one of those hygienists says the same thing. We have nowhere to put these people. We have too many patients, which is a good problem to have. Now, one more thing I'm just going to add to this on the individual roles. You guys deal with very large practices and DSOs. And, you know, we see practices with one doctor and one hygienist, one doctor, 4 hygienists, 2 doctors, 9 hygienists. We get to see them all different configurations. The cool thing about normalizing these data points from the whole department to the roles is you can find best practices, because if you have 4 hygienists, no question, one of them is going to be really good at this, or 2 of them, maybe 3 of them. And what you can do is you can use best practices. You can go to the hygienist who's at 93% and say, what are you doing? Now, if I'm a hygienist and I'm at, 62%, not doing great, I can be inspired to say, hey, listen, I don't want to be at 62% anymore. Can I just listen to the one hygienist in our practice that's at 93 or 94%, and I can pick up on what they are saying, correct? Curtis, anything else you would add to that?
No, that just takes that exact role of making sure that every patient leaves with an appointment, and then looking at it per person rather than the role. So if I'm at 83% was the average, right, for hygiene reappointment,
85
then I can look
on my sheet.
85. Thank you. I can look at all of my hygienists underneath and say, all right, where are they each at? Oh, one's at 90. The other 2 are at 70%. Why? Like you're mentioning it. But you can break it down whole, role, and then individual.
Yeah, I'm going to add one more layer to this because I get to listen to all of our coaches. Now, I'm not the best coach ever, but our coaches, I learn from them every day. One of our coaches, Miranda Beeson, says this. in this conversation, what's really cool is you just want to bring your team together. Just make them aware of their numbers. And you want them to present their numbers to the rest of the team. Because here's why. People can't argue with their own data. If I'm giving you data, it's my data. So be careful that you're giving them their data, because that can be a little debatable. Teach them, take care of them, educate them about why it's important. And it's not about money. It's about being healthy and creating a healthy situation in our practice. And the more that you can get everybody around being healthy, talking about the truth, being transparent about numbers, and then having them report on their numbers, you'll see things take off in a way that you would never expect them. And it's so cool when you can separate these buckets from the whole department to individual roles. I want to talk about this one too, Curtis. Perio patient percentage is a really important one. Let's start with the why, because we get a lot of practices that come in, they aspire or they're on the path to being great restorative dentists. And you can't overlook this one. This one's one of those elephants in the room that you can say, oh, tell us about the importance of perio patient percentage.
Ready? 1,000 hygiene patients. I've got 1,000.
Okay.
Of those 1,000, I have 100 of those patients in my perio program, which means that they've had a perio. High level, I'm looking at 10% of my hygiene patients are in perio. Okay? 10%. That's high level.
Right.
That's the whole. The whole is that. Now, if I'm talking about the role now, to increase hygiene, to increase perio percentage, is the role of that to help increase it? The scheduling coordinator for hygiene or the hygienist?
That's the hygienist.
The scheduling coordinator cannot schedule perio if it's not diagnosed.
Right.
So the role, in order to accomplish the whole, to improve your 10% of hygiene perio patients in perio, to increase that 10%, the role is looking at two, maybe three different roles, but one role being diagnostic percentage. Perio diagnostic percentage. Where are you at? The second would be acceptance percentage of hygiene, of perio.
Yep.
So those two roles now, I can now talk with the roles of diagnostic. Is the hygienist and the doctor working together to find true perio? Yeah. And that's up to the clinicians. They'll decide that.
Right.
Then we look at the acceptance. How well are they accepting? Now that could be the hygienist, the doctor, and the treatment coordinator. But those would be the two roles that we're going to be focusing on to increase the whole. But if we just tell the office, hey, we're at 10%, we need to do better. I'm going to run here, I'm going to run there, I'm going to run back into the locker room, wherever it is. I don't know necessarily what to do if you tell me the whole. But when we talk about the role of really, hey, this is what we're going to do. And if we do this, then I'm going to love the whole. The person.
I'm loving this, Curtis. Now, if you're following along, we're going to make this even more simple for you as we get going. But here's what I want you to think about. Don't chase every metric. When you download this, this one pager, this tool, you might get upset thinking, gosh, there's a lot of opportunity. Don't chase them all. What you have to do as a whole practice is you got to figure out which ones are we going to work on and improve them incrementally this quarter. That's how we approach it. I'll just tell you what we do. We identify opportunities with practices we coach, and over the next 13 weeks as a whole, we're going to improve this one. Perio patient percentage is a great one because I'll go back to the metrics. And you're going to want to check this out if you're a listener. The top 10% of dental offices in the United States or install users are at 34%. So 34% of their patients are engaged in the perio process. If you're in the bottom 10%, you're around 4%. Now, I'll just say this. If you only have 100 patients out of a possible 100 that are doing perio, You must live in a very unique place where nobody has perio and everyone's healthy. The truth of it is that there's a lot of perio, and perio isn't going away. And it's an important piece of the restorative process or your overall philosophy. And it has to be driven by your philosophy. What's really cool is that the data removes all emotion. Once you pull this and you aspire to do optimal, great dentistry, you're going to see there's a huge opportunity. What we find, I'm going to add another layer, the higher the perio patient percentage, what happens is the restorative schedule goes crazy. So when you go from 4% to 34%, now that doesn't happen overnight. You might go from 4% to 10% to 12% to 13%. I'll tell you what's happening in your hygiene department. People are getting healthier. They're more engaged. They know why. They're paying more for their appointments. There's no, magic behind this. People are just paying more for 4,000 code type procedures here. The other thing that's happening in your hygiene department is your hygienists are really starting to value what they do. Most hygienists are really, really great, intended human beings. But what they often aren't supported with is the whole idea that people should pay for this. So what they do is they do heroic pro fees. They're actually doing perio, but they don't charge their patients for perio. They serve champagne, but they charge for water. We've heard that one. But what we want to do is just, put some light on this. And it's really cool when you can look at your departments as a whole and then divide them into how we approach this as a role. Am I being a good student here?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah.
Because so many times we see a number.
Right.
And we either get upset or we say, team, you need to go fix this big whole number.
Right.
No. They're going to do things that may or may not fix it. Give them the role. This is the area we want you to be focusing on. And I know, I'm not necessarily going to say it, but I know it's going to improve the whole of the company. But I need you to focus on the role.
Yep.
So that's you're nailing it 100%. That's the whole premise behind it is actionable. Hey, here is your number that I want you to go focus on. Whether you knock on the door, drive to the person's house and knock on their door and bring them in. You send them an Uber, whether you use a text message, whether you use a pigeon to let them know what's going on. I don't care how you do it. This is a small role that needs to be done.
Yeah, I love it. So, Curtis, I'm going to have you back again and again and again as we dive into these metrics. You guys are brainiacs on how all this works. And so my hope is that you were enlightened today or educated about what these numbers mean and how it relates to your practice. Again, go to the show notes. We'll have this download. You can click on it. It'll take you right to it and use it as a productive, opportunity tool, not a don't go on a...
Not as a weapon.
Not
don't
as
use
a
it
weapon.
as a weapon.
Yeah, very well said. So it's just a great opportunity to bring us together, talk about what it means to be healthier. And we're not looking for perfect here. As a team, think about this. Let's just do a little progress. So, Curtis, I want you to share. If I'm listening, I don't know how to find out about dental intel. I don't know where to go. Where do I go?
Simple. Dentalintel.com. It's that easy. There's a demo site. You can just click and say, hey, I'm interested. Also, if you click below, there should be a link, right, Kirk, if you're watching on YouTube or something. But if you're talking to us, let us know that you saw this podcast. Because what we'd like to do is send you anything extra we can that we're discussing, especially when it comes to whole versus roll. So let us know that you heard us on the Best Practices Show.
Awesome. Well, Curtis, thanks for being here, brother. I always appreciate you.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Thanks,
so stick around. I say goodbye to everybody else, but thank you guys for listening to the Best Practices Show. Hey, if you enjoyed today, just do us a favor, hit the share button, share this with your friends, download the tool that we mentioned today. Use it. If you have questions, reach out to Curtis, myself. We're here to help. And as always, our hope is we're giving you great information to help you create a better practice and better life. So until we see you guys next time, or you hear from us next time, keep watching or keep listening to the Best Practices Show. You guys enjoy your day.